Hello everyone and welcome back to the next part of our match tutorial series. In this video we're going to be taking a look at a brand new class called the Game Manager class, which will be responsible for how we add points, win the game, lose the game, and updating our UI. We're also going to be creating a bit more UI so we don't have just some potions floating in blank space. And once that's all done, we'll be doing a bit of a refactor to the checkboard method, which will give us both the ability to add a delay between multi-checks, as well as allow us to simplify our code. If you're enjoying this tutorial series so far and you haven't yet subscribed, please consider subscribing, and we also have a Patreon over at patreon.com/Flarvain, as well as a Discord if you have any questions. Alrighty, so we're going to start off this one by creating a brand new script. I'm going to call that one Game Manager, and we'll just open that one up. Now inside of Game Manager, there's a few things we're going to want to add here. We're going to hold a lot of our UI in here, so we're going to be using Text Mesh Pros, as well as some game objects that store our victory panel and losing panel. We're also going to create a public static reference to this so we can use this elsewhere in the application because it's going to be alive in every single one of our scenes. We'll also have an initialize method that allows us to set the amount of points and moves that we want each round to take. And ideally what's going to happen is we're going to have a main menu, and in that main menu you'll select the level that you're going to go to, and we will call an initialize method on this game manager, which basically sets the number of required points in order to win and the number of moves that you need to have to do that within. So let's get started. We're going to create a public static game manager, and we'll call that instance. It's going to be a static reference, just an easy way for us to reach it from our potion board. We'll also add a public game object that we're going to call background panel. It's going to be exactly what it is. It's just a gray background so that users don't end up clicking on potions and everything, and it makes it look like the victory boards are in front of the game. We're also going to add to that a game object that we'll call victory panel. Obviously our victory panel, and another one for our loss panel. Let's call that lose panel. And then we're going to have some integers. So we'll have a public int, we'll call that goal. So this is the amount of points you need to get to win. Let's correct that. And then we're going to have a public int called moves. This is going to be the number of turns you can take. Then a public int for points. This is going to be the current points you've earned. And then we'll add one more in there, which is a public bool that we're just going to call isGameEnded. And later on, we will want to stop certain functions like refilling the potion board and all that from happening. We don't want the game loop to keep going after we've won, so we'll call a isGameEnded, set it to true, and then just make sure we stop the logic of the rest of the gameplay. So for starters, I'm going to create a private avoid awake function, and in that awake function, I'm just going to set instance equal to this. So we're setting our static reference. We'll then create a public void initialize method, and in that initialize method, we're going to take an int, call that underscore moves, and an int, we'll call that underscore goal. So this is what we're going to call at the start so that we can pass it in and say, hey, this round is going to take a goal of 50 points and you have to do it within 20 moves or something like that. So moves equals underscore moves and goal equals underscore goal, and that sets us up for the game. I'm then going to jump down here, and we're also going to create a public void win game. Now these are going to be attached to buttons in our UI, so attached to a button to change scene when winning. And all this is going to do for now is say scene manager, and then if you hit Alt Enter, you can import using Unity Engine.scene management, or you can just type it up the top here if you don't want to do it that way. And scene manager dot load scene, and we'll have it load the build index of 0. It can also load a string as well, so we could call it like main menu if you've named your scene as main menu. But for me, in my game, I'm just going to have the main menu be the very first scene that you load in on when you launch the game, which makes it the build index of 0. And I'll walk you through this when we actually add the scenes in there, and we can show you a different way you could do it, but this is nice and simple. And I'm just going to copy this one here. We're going to paste it down, and this is going to be a button for when losing, and we'll call this lose game. And for now, the logic's going to be the same. You would be able to do different things, like potentially unlock other levels and everything that could happen through here on the win game, but it's good for us to separate them even though right now they do the same thing. Okay, now we can get into the meat of this class, and that's going to be a public void process turn. And we're going to pass in an int, which will be points to gain, and a bool, which will be subtract moves. Now, very simply, we pass in the amount of points that we're going to be adding to our points up here. And then we're going to be determining whether we want to subtract moves when this gets called or not. And the reason why is because sometimes you might have multiple potions that flow down and make multiple matches, but you've only taken one move. So we'll only subtract the move on the very first time and then allow it to keep flowing until it's fully checked the board clean. Okay, so we'll say points plus equals points to gain. And then if subtract moves, then we're going to say moves minus minus. Now, once we've done that, we're then going to see, do I have enough points and have I run out of moves? So if points is greater than or equal to our goal, then we've won the game. And for some reason today I can't spell points. So we'll say is game ended is equal to true. And then display a victory screen. So we're going to set our background panel to active. And we'll also set our victory panel to active. And we'll create all that UI a little bit later. And then once we've set our victory panel, we can return out of this because we don't want to do any of the next steps. And then in the scenario where you've hit moves equals 0, then you've lost the game in this case. So again, we're going to set is game ended to true. And then we'll put our background panel to active again. And then we'll do the same with our lose panel. And once more, we can just return out of that then. And we don't need to do anything extra after this process because all we're saying is add our points. If we are subtracting moves, then subtract moves, and then check if we've won, check if we've lost. If nothing, then just keep letting the game play through until you do this process again. Okay, so now let's jump over and create ourselves some UI. So I'm going to jump into this sprites area, the simple UI icons that we have. And we're going to be using this for our potion board. And we're going to be using this for our little point scoring. So ideally the way it's going to go, just putting a rough thing on the page here. We're going to have our potions sit inside of our potion boards here. And we're going to have our points scored here where it'll just say points, number of moves left, and the goal that we have to earn. Now, obviously you can see that scaled very terribly. So if I click on this box coin here and I go into sprite editor, what we're going to do is we're going to drag this green outline into the center and in here as well and in here. And the reason why I've dragged it in so much further on the left is because I'll just keep that little glare that we've got there. And we need to pull this in all the way down to where there's no more changes on the vertical axis as well as no more changes on the horizontal axis. Okay, so that should be pretty good. We can hit apply, exit out of this. Okay, now this is still going to look bad, and that is because these are not inside of a canvas. So we're going to start and create ourselves a canvas. This is just going to be UI. And we're going to end this part here because it's getting a bit long, and I will jump into the next part where we are going to tackle all the UI creation. As always, these videos wouldn't be possible without the support of my patrons. In the Diamond tier, we have Infinite Canvas. In the Emerald tier, we have Demand Games. In the Gold tier, we have Castle Coders, Zope, and Maths Math. In the Silver tier, we have Sunday Roast, Jim Hawkins with Halloumi, and Hickey92. Thank you all. If you'd like to sign up, the link is down the bottom right there. It's patreon.com/Flarvain, and I will see you guys in the next video.